What's up, everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Shots on Target podcast. This is part 2 of our transfer window breakdown. I'm joined by the gentlemen. First off, we have Jakey.
What's up, everyone?
And our very own football oracle, Mikkel.
Oh, Mike Oracle is back in the house. Apologies for the audio in regards to the first video. Literally, that's what happens when you don't have a microphone. But I'm back again with a proper mic. Not the ideal replacement, but it's better than nothing. Can't wait to break down the transfers.
Let's see how we get on. And thank you to anyone who has watched our first part. And it's now time to crack on with part 2. So we will get straight underway with Leeds United. Jakey, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, actually, I think a really impressive window from Leeds for a newly promoted side. Some very shrewd business. They've not spent loads, but they've spent a lot in terms of money out. Like they've not really spent big on one player. It's kind of been balanced throughout the side. I've gone with a B rate, and I think the signings of Stash and Okafor are going to be very good. Players who have top flight experience in the leagues that they've came from. I think Lucas Perry's going to be quite a good little keeper for them. Sean Longstaff from Newcastle for only 13 mil, considering his market value is nearly double that, I think is excellent business. And then just very very good business. I think the only real question mark is Calvert-Lewin, because I think he is shit.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
And again, on the outs, not really much to write home about. Sam Greenwood out for 2 mil, and then Christensen out for 6. I don't think players are really going to miss towards the latter stage. I'm getting rid of Patrick Bamford, who was, again, shit.
So what rating did you give them, sorry?
I gave them a B.
A B, okay. Yeah, I've gone along the same lines. I gave them a B minus. Along the same lines as you, Jake. I think they've made some good signings for a team just promoted from the Championship. Do I think they'll have enough to stay up? I'm not sure. I think it's been a good transfer window from Leeds. The only question mark for me was, like you say, Calvert-Lewin. I don't rate him whatsoever. I don't really know what he brings. Apparently he was bang average on the weekend again. So, yeah, it's nice, straightforward for me. Miguel?
B minus for me. I thought I was going to be controversial by saying B minus. Like, Leeds did the best they could. Defensively, they invested really nicely until the mistake. The Gabriel Gudmundsson was performing really well from Lille, only for 11.6 million. James Justin back in the Premier League is a strange choice for me, especially after his poor showing during his spell at Leicester in his last season there. Lucas Perry, that's about the standard keeper they were going to get from Lyon. Pretty solid, reliable, nothing special. Noah Okafor is an exciting deal. Someone who needed that transfer away from AC Milan, as he was never going to be the starter over there. The only issue I have with Leeds is centre forward. They are not going to get enough goals to survive in this league. I'm just going to say it right now. Calvert-Lewin, I don't understand it. Is it just because of the English quota? Is it because he was a free transfer? I just don't get it. He's not going to score enough goals. And same goes for Lucas Nemecha. Yes, he scored a penalty against Everton, but he also was struggling with injuries during the spell at Wolfsburg to the point where he had to be loaned out. And I do think that Leeds' Achilles heel will be scoring the goals. And who will step up? And I mean, like, in terms of departures, nothing really to write home about. I guess Sam Greenwood going to Pogoń Szczecin for 2 million is a bit of a surprise considering the amount of hype he had. But ask any Preston fan and they'll tell you he's very streaky in terms of his form. And getting Patrick Bamford off the wage bill is a must. Because 100 plus K a week to do nothing, that was never going to be sustainable for Leeds United. So overall, it was a good window, but could have been an even better window. So B minus for me.
Yeah, I think we're all about the same there. So I think we average out a B there for Leeds.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, I do agree that the striker is going to be an issue for them. It wouldn't surprise me if January they have to sign a striker if they want to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so we've got a B for Leeds. Moving on, we have our Premier League champions, Liverpool. I will kick this one off because you are both Liverpool fans and you could speak for hours on this. So I will kick us off. So, as I say, our Premier League champions have surprised everyone by being the biggest spenders this summer with a net spend of over £400 million, signing some of the biggest players in Europe. So, we have Verts for 116 million, the deadline day signing of Alexander Isak for 125 million, Hugo Ekitike for 79 million, also adding Frimpong, Kirkes, Mamadashvili, and nearly getting Mark Gahey just to top that off as well on deadline day, but just fell through in the end. I mean, what can you say about this window? It's an absolutely A plus plus plus. Their outgoings was just as impressive, letting go Darwin Núñez for 56 million. That's just ridiculous. Kwanzaa for 35 million, Luis Diaz for 65 million, Ben Doak for 25 million, and of course, the unfortunate and very distressing loss of Diego Jota, rest in peace. All in all, it has been an insane window for the Scousers, signing absolute talent all over the pitch and just confirming to the entire world that they will be a force to be reckoned with this season on all fronts, with their eyes, I'm sure, fully focused on a better showing in the Champions League this season. And I can say for certain that Liverpool won the transfer window this summer without a shadow of a doubt. The only thing I will say on it is that the defence still looks a little shaky. Kirkes looks like he's going to take some time to gel. Obviously, you've got a right back problem at the minute. Obviously, Soboslai's been doing a job there, and he's done a fantastic job there, but he's not a right back. So that remains to be seen. Obviously, they're unbeaten still, maybe a bit lucky in a couple of games, but still, you've got to take the luck when it's given. But just going on the transfer window itself, it's an A plus for me. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next because I have a lot to say.
I bet you do.
Listen, this is an A for me. This is not quite A plus for personal reasons because I think Gehi not coming to Liverpool is a bit of a negative personally. The reassurances in the centre back spot is not quite there. Are we really going to see Leone get minutes? Probably more so in the Carabao Cup. The league, we don't know. And Joe Gomez still being relied on for his fitness is a bit of a concern, despite his qualities. And also, this is just a personal thing for me. I personally would have rather have Liverpool signed Hinkepie or Jarl Hatta. I never was fully on board the Kyrgyz train, just because it would have been nice to have a left back who inverts into the centre back. We've seen Kyrgyz trying to do that, but he doesn't really work there. And also, he's very rash. And there's a reason why some fans want Robertson to start for the next several games, especially after Kyrgyz was subbed off in the 39th minute. Not even until half time, but overall, like, Jesus, where do I start? Like, first of all, the departures, like, no more Darwin Núñez. Like, this is an immediate A plus for me. Like, no more empty misses, no more offsides. Luis Diaz leaving for Bayern Munich for inflated price is a huge positive for me. But also, like, the youngsters, Kwanzaa leaving for Bayer Leverkusen, felt like it was the right move for him, as he wasn't really developing as well as he should during his Liverpool tenure. Kelleher leaving for Brentford is a bit of a disappointment for some fans. For me, it's all about minutes for Kelleher. Trent leaving for 10 million, basically, not even on a free for 10 million, is incredible business for Liverpool, especially with Frimpong and Szoboszlai replacing him. I mean, like, instead of having a lazy right back, we actually have a right back who actually defend and track back and actually put in an effort. The only slight disappointment for fans may be the departure of Tyler Morton, just because of the low fee, no buyback clause. This could be the one that may have escaped the clutches unnecessarily. But like Isak and Vets, and Ekitike as well. Like, what else is there to say? It's just incredible business. Like, even the arrival of the Leone and Pesci, um, prioritizing the future of the club, it's just incredible. So yeah, for me, it's an A, not quite A plus. I've that score reserved for a different club.
Interesting. £400 million spent and it doesn't get an A plus. That's an interesting one, Jake.
Listen, I'm just being real, man. Listen, and we also had an income of 200 million, like
And that is
due to the
an A plus
sales.
for you.
You know, listen, I
Fair,
have to keep it real, man. It's not quite perfect, but it's an insane window.
fair enough. Jake?
I've also gone with an A for similar but different reasons as Oracle. I think
Sorry.
people jumping on Kirkez after 4 games, I think is a little bit harsh. I thought he was amazing against Arsenal, and I don't think him getting taken off after 38 minutes is anything to write home about. He was on a yeller. You never know if he's going to pick up another one. Like you say, he likes to dive in. He likes tackling. I think it was more so just make sure we don't go down to 10 men, and I'm reading no more into it than that. I think he's a very, very good left back. The only issues I have with this window, and I don't think I'm going to be alone when saying this, I actually wasn't that asked if we got Isak or not. I would have much rather we went out, got a winger to so Salah doesn't play every minute of every game. I think we're still weak in midfield. If McAllister and Gravenberch get injured, we are fucked. And similarly with centre backs, I think if we get an injury to Canate, if Gomez pulls up again, we have Van Dijk and we have Leone, and that is it. So the areas I wish we would have improved on more, we haven't. But what we have brought in is exceptional. Words for 116. Again, people who were just jumping on the he's got no goals or assists after 4 games, I couldn't give a fuck. These are the same people that will say Hazard is better than Salah because they watch football with their eyes. Same point. Ekitike, I think, is going to be the one that will hit home. I think he's been a brilliant signing already, and yeah, we've strengthened in a lot of areas of the pitch, but I think there's still certain weaknesses that that will be highlighted. I think centre back and midfield we don't have the depth that I would like us to have in those positions.
Okay. Sorry, is that you done?
Yeah, that is me done. Sorry.
Oh, okay, it's all right. Not a problem. I will say
I
though.
have a small counterpoint, by the way. I have a small little counterpoint. I would be more concerned in regards to midfield if we didn't have the youngsters like Neone and Bajcetic. I wouldn't be surprised if Slot gives them minutes, especially in like the league and Champions League. To be honest with you, but I do think that centre back is still a bit of a concern. Like Leone's for the long term, but yeah, I'm not too concerned. And as for the right wing, I wouldn't be surprised if it's further down the line where we're gonna prioritize that area. And also, I do see Frimpong getting some minutes over there, especially with Salah going to AFCON.
Yeah.
Honestly, just on the subject of Salah, I think I'm not going to be the only one here, but he has been absolutely bang average the first 4 games. Honestly, I don't think he has attributed a single thing to Liverpool's performances in the first 4 games. It's been a very, very slow start from Mohamed Salah, and it
Just
does.
proves he's human.
Yeah, of course, but
Just proves
when
he's
he
human. Like
but when
at
he's
the end
just
of the day,
man, you need him to perform, especially when you need to break down a team like Burnley. I expected him to take the ball by the horns, and he just looked a bit lost, to be honest. He tried the same thing over and over again, just a hopeful cross into the box, and there was no one there. Maybe Isak would have been the perfect person to have in the box. Who knows? But yeah, I just think he's been absolutely bang average the first 4 games of the season.
it's just carrying on from his end-to-season form. Unfortunately, he's just staying wide, not really being effective. To be honest with you, and I'm just hoping that we are not going to be overly dependent on Mo's form for us to win games. Like, we need to start playing to versus strengths instead of just crossing the ball aimlessly. That's what infuriated me about the Burnley game. Like, we were starting off so well, Virts was breaking down the low block, and then we just started crossing the ball aimlessly. I'm just thinking to myself, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. You move the ball very slow as well. When you've got a team that's literally sticking 10 men behind the ball, you have to move the ball quickly to create openings. And you were just very slow to do that. Burnley were very unlucky not to come away with a point. But we're going to move on because otherwise we'll be here for hours with two Liverpool fans. So I think we'll we'll average that out as an A then.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Okay, so moving on to Man City, the former Premier League champions. Who would like to kick us off?
I'll start with Manchester City because I have a lot to say.
Go
Well,
for it.
basically, this is a B plus for me. I think Rangers is an exceptional buy. Like, he is on an upward trajectory in terms of his career. Ryan Nuri, very pacey attacking wing back who is now injured. Same for Ryan Cherky, but overall, this has been a fairly underwhelming window by City standards. They also signed John Luigi Donnarumma, who looks pretty excellent. Like, in terms of shot-stopping capabilities, Donnarumma is exceptional. Just with the ball of in his feet. That's the only main question in regards to Donnarumma. Can he excel? They also signed one of Norway's hottest prospects in Swerve Nipan, who's been loaned out to Middlesbrough, but that's a youngster to keep an eye on further down the line. In terms of departures, a lot of players have finally left the club. Ederson to Fenerbahce, Akanji on loan to Inter, who's already underperforming, especially after the game against Juve. Just some odd signing for Inter. If you're talking about teams that lost the transfer window, Inter are definitely up there. Gundogan on a free to Galatasaray, De Bruyne to Napoli. Now that's gotta sting for City fans to see him excel in Napoli, and not for them anymore. But overall, like, the centre back spot, Kusnov can play there. Ruben Diaz, John Stones, but there's not much depth. And Pep has proven to be a bit of a hypocrite. Like, he's complaining about the fixture congestions, but yet wants a smaller squad. I just don't understand it. Are you trying to prove a point? And also, like, James McAtee going to Forest, that's not that big of a loss in my humble opinion. Just because he wasn't really excelling when given the chance. Jan Kuta, Maximo Peroni also departing the club, both to Dortmund and Como after the loan spells. Like, this is just a fairly bog standard window. So for me personally, B minus.
Okay, Jake.
Yeah, quite similar. I've gone with a B. I think the areas that they needed to strengthen. You've got the big task of replacing one of probably the Premier League's greatest ever midfielders in Kevin De Bruyne. Have they done that at face value? Probably not. Will they prove it? Probably. Cherky comes with a lot of potential, and Reinders looks like an already not made replacement, but a quality player. The confusing part is spending 30 million on James Trafford, only then to go spend 30 million on Gianluigi Donnarumma. I think that's a strange one. I guess, sort of future proofing, but the fact that Donnarumma is 26, keepers don't typically peak until they're older, so he's got another decade in him at least if they keep him that long. So I just don't get the signing of Trafford. Naipan, as someone that plays Football Manager quite a lot, very good signing. As someone who has never seen him play, can't comment on him more than that. And then, like you say, with the outgoings, James McAtee, wasn't really a first team player. Couto, not really a first team player. Ederson, probably is the right time to let him go. Already looking like he was getting phased out of the squad. And then you've lost a lot of experience though with the likes of Ederson, Akanji, Gundogan, De Bruyne, even Walker. Whatever your opinion is on him, it's a lot of experience, a lot of winning experience, replaced with players who are quite young, do not necessarily have that experience of the high pressure situations, carrying them over the line. Yeah, I can't really go any higher than a B. I think it's a good window, but there's still big areas that need strengthening, especially centre back. As good as Vardiol, Diaz, Stones, and cursing off it's a very thin back line. That's
Okay.
pretty much it.
So I agree with you, Jake. I've gone with a B as well. For a team that defies spending money in the summer, yeah, they have spent, but it's not really been a City summer transfer window that everyone sort of expects. Obviously, you can make the case that they don't need to spend too much because they've obviously got the likes of Haaland, Foden, Doku, etc., etc. That, like you say, good signings in Tijani Reinders. Ait Nouri, I think, was a good signing. Donnarumma on deadline day was a fantastic signing. I think he's a world-class goalkeeper. He's been literally England's bane of existence for the last 4 or 5 years. So now he's going to be playing in the Premier League. I think they definitely could have done more. I don't know if I see them as title challengers this year. I just there's something about City. It seems like one day they can put in a performance, and the next they can just be box standard, as their fixtures have already shown, losing to Brighton and then going absolutely trashing United, which obviously doesn't seem like a huge thing because it's Man United, but in a Manchester derby, it's still a big thing. But yeah, for me, it was just a very basic window for City, nothing crazy. I think without the signing of Donnarumma, my rating would have been lower, but I have gone with a B on that one.
Averages out at a B then.
Yeah, we have a B for them.
Right, yeah. I also think that City are just preparing for life after Guardiola and maybe didn't want to invest too much into the squad. That's another discussion for another day, but I just have some minor theories about that because it did look like City were gonna go for a mental transfer window, and then they just stopped.
Yeah, but it's like Jake said. How do you replace someone like Kevin De Bruyne?
You
It's
just
like
need to adapt.
he's one of
Yeah.
them. He's like David Silva when he retired. They struggled to replace him for a couple of seasons. So it is a work in progress at City. Obviously, they're going to be trying to work their way back to challenge for the title, but we'll have to see what happens. So, moving on, we have got the other side of Manchester, Man United. I'll kick this one off. I've gone with a C. It's the same old story with Manchester United. They make big money signings, and everyone has the question, will they work or won't they? For me personally, I think they've made good signings, Brian and Buemo, but I think they overspent. Matthias Cunha, 61 million, I think is actually a good bit of business. I think he's probably their best signing of the window. Maybe a little overpriced, but will be very solid. As for Benjamin Sesko, I really don't know. For a hefty price of 73 million, I mean, all some of those talks of Gyökeres to United, Sesko to Arsenal, then it flipped and it went the other way. And obviously, we've ended up where we are. I think personally, Arsenal, looking at Sesko, will be very excited that they did not sign him because he looks like a striker that is lacking confidence, lacking guidance, leadership, whatever it may be, but just does not look like the player that they signed for 73 million whatsoever. And having the chance to sign Emi Martinez on deadline day, but instead choosing an unproven player in Sen Lamens, I don't know. When the goalkeeper has been a position that's literally everyone's been talking about for years now at Manchester United that needs to be filled, and you've got someone like Emi Martinez that literally, for me, is one of the best Premier League goalkeepers. I think he's absolutely outstanding. Villa must be buzzing to keep their hands on him. So yeah, if they had the chance to do that and they decided to say no to him and choose this young Belgian, not really great business in my eyes. They have a lot of quality at United, but they just don't seem to make it work on a consistent basis. That's been their problem, whether it be the management, the board, training, coaching, leadership, whatever it may be. There's just something very off at Manchester United. So yeah, I've gone with a C. Jake, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll take it. I've also gone with a C. I think it's one of them stories with United, similar to what you say. They spend big money and then it's the question mark of will it work. I think Sesko is a good player. I don't think as much as he will probably prove that he isn't a good player at United, which player does prove that they're a good player at United. I think in Mbeumo they've overspent. I think Cunha they've overspent. I think Lamens they overspent. Just to touch on the Martinez situation, I disagree. I think he's been living off that 2022, whatever year it was, World Cup. The Argentina, the winning World Cup. I think has been for the past couple of years a very bang average keeper. Very mistake prone, which to be fair would probably fit at Manchester United, considering they've got Bayern Dia and not anymore, but did have Andro Onana, two of probably the worst keepers I have seen at that club. Again, it's one of them. They always say, if they just back the manager, we'd succeed. Manager's been backed. They look shit. I don't know where you go with this. I don't think it is just as easy as replacing the manager that's there now, because they've done that countless times. Amorim looks like the worst manager that they've had since the last one. And yeah, it's just one of them. Transfer window these players might come good. You never know. Will they be worth what they've spent? Probably not. It's near 250 million spent on these players. And they've not really made them look any better. I think it's going to be a very long season for United, as it usually is. So yeah, see. It's about as good as I get. They're good players, but will they be good for them? Don't know.
Do you really not think Emi Martinez is a world-class keeper?
No. Hasn't been for about 2 years now.
Wow, I got to disagree heavily there.
I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. I just don't think he's world class. I don't think there are many keepers in this league that are world class. And the two that I do think are world class, he certainly isn't one of them. And so he's not a bad goalkeeper, but he has been on the decline. And I know a lot of Villa fans that were wanting him out the door, that have complained about his performances of late. Even last season, he just kept making mistake after mistake, just looked like a shadow of himself.
Well, let us know in the comments down below. Who are you going for? Do you think Emi Martinez is world class like me, or do you disagree and vote Jakey? Let us know in the comments down below. Mikhail, you're up.
Oh, listen, I want to chime in, lads. First of all, this is a C- window for me. I'm looking at the departures that nobody has spoken about. Like, so much Deadwood has left Manchester United, but like Anthony for only 22 million. Like, is Anthony one of the worst signings in Premier League history? Just based on the fee, the lack of performances we've seen from him. Let us know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, because
Certainly up there.
like he's certainly up there. Nowhere near worth the price. Like Højlund going to Napoli, and Højlund already scored. He already scored against Fiorentina. Like maybe he was a competitor that Sesko needed, because I said this to Jakey previously, that if you're signing Sesko, you need someone experienced next to him. That's why I said when Newcastle were in for Sesko, this is why you should sign Visa as well, because Sesko's extremely raw. He is very awkward, gangly. He loves to shoot from very weird areas, long distance areas. And I just don't think he's ready to be a starter for any club in the Premier League just yet. He needs time. He needs experience in front of him to give him that competition, to give him room for improvement, to learn. As for Mbeumo and Cunha, definitely overpriced, but certainly the quality they needed. And as for Emi Martinez, I will unfortunately have to agree with Jakey, which is something I don't really say often. Like, I really don't. Like, in my humble opinion, Martinez is a good shot stopper, but I don't think he's an outstanding shot stopper. He has this erratic nature about him, which is very similar to Onana. Like, Martinez costed the Villa the Champions League, especially with the goals he conceded against PSG in the Villa Park, and also against Manchester United, getting himself stupidly sent off for no reason. That's what costed Villa Champions League money. That's what costed them the huge revenue they would have received. So I'm not really hearing the whole, oh, Martinez may have been an upgrade over Onana. That's just me personally. But is Sen Lamens the answer? I don't think so either. That's huge pressure to put on a 23-year-old keeper. And it's just the same old story with Manchester United. But honestly, I still look at Ruben Amorim? Ruben Amorim more than anything because you gotta adapt. Even Antonio Conte, the man who was known to be a stubborn coach with his 3-4-3, even he's adapting at Napoli with De Bruyne and McTominay both being able to play together. Like even Conte's using a 4-1-4-1 system. Like that's unheard of. And so Amarim just needs to become more flexible, understand the weaknesses of the team. The lack of a DM is hugely concerning because Ugarte is just a lorry driver. That's all he is. He has the mobility of a lorry truck. And Bruno playing deeper is not beneficial for Manchester United. And it's just going to be another season of mediocrity for the club of Manchester, and that will result in relegation in 3 to 5 years. After constant misspending, after poor mismanagement, that will result in relegation. No club is ever too big to go down. Mark my words. Oh yeah, C minus.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you guys this though: if you was the Manchester United manager on deadline day and you have the chance to either sign Sen Lamens, an unproven Belgian goalkeeper, or Emi Martinez, honestly, which one are you choosing?
I choose Martinez, but I still don't think he
Martinez,
is a
yeah.
world class goalkeeper.
Oh, okay. But we
Well,
but we agree
he
you've
would
had
probably just
big
be a
list.
stopgap. He would probably just be nothing but a stopgap, to be honest with you, Martinez. Like, yeah, what I would think would happen is, oh, he would have some nice performances early down the line, and then mistake after mistake, and people will be like, yo, this is just Onana but Argentina edition. Like, what's going on there? But in terms of like Premier experience, of course you go for Martinez. You would sign both keepers and sell Bayindir and Onana personally. I think they should have done.
I agree with that.
Hmm. See, honestly though,
Lamens to learn.
when it comes to the Premier League, though, you look at a club like Manchester United, and the reason their goalkeepers have been struggling so much is because when they do make a mistake, the fans get on their back and they make a second, a third, a fourth. But that doesn't actually happen with Emi Martinez. He's one of these goalkeepers that does not give a shit.
Oh, he also is a mistake prone. Like even with simple shots, he just parries them and leaves himself open for
Yeah, but
what's
all
called just
goalkeepers are prone to mistakes. It's probably the
yeah, but
worst
it's just
fucking
too
job
much
in
with
football you can have.
man.
Is
You know.
fucking being a goalkeeper.
But like
Like
lad, he
goalkeepers
literally
do make
costed Villa.
mistakes.
I don't know, man. He just costed Villa so many times. Because
I
I
just think,
watched Villa regularly, and he did cost him several times.
yeah,
But
that may be
yes,
so.
he has the attitude of a Manchester United player. He would handle the pressure. Like, do you really think like Big Bill from Manchester would get in his head? I don't think so. But is
Exactly.
he by quality? I don't think so either, personally.
I'm not saying he'd be the goalkeeper that Manchester United needed. I'm just saying in terms of
A good stopgap
de-
for sure.
dealing
I would
with that
agree with you.
pressure that comes with that job and that spot
Yeah.
at Manchester United. That is the man you want. You don't want a young goalkeeper that could shit his pants on day one.
Mm. But
That's
that's
all.
why I still stand by they should have signed both of them. Like, I was surprised they didn't. I'm surprised Bayindir's still there. Like,
Yeah.
Turkish clubs would have battered an eyelid for his return to Turkey. I'm surprised he's still there. But yeah, like, personally for me, they should have signed both. I don't think Martinez would have been an incredible upgrade, but it would be a sensible arrival. But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on because again, we could probably talk for hours on a club like Manchester United. I think we averaged about a C with United. Am I right with that?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
All right. So we will move on to Newcastle United, the Geordies. Mikhail, do you want to kick us off with Newcastle?
Oh, Jesus. Talk about a club that's been written. This is a D, by the way. Like, okay, in terms of our rivals, Waltermanda, exceptional arrival, but he wasn't even second or third choice. This is literally their seventh choice. Like, what are we doing here? Like, Newcastle were rejected more times than Taylor Swift, for goodness sakes. Alanya, dynamic winger, won't offer much end product, but he's an electric club player. Johan Visa, they signed him, but he's injured already for the next 4 weeks. For an inflated price of 57 million. Like Brentford must have been cackling their arses off. Malik Tiao, a centre back that I raved about during his Schalke days, hadn't really fulfilled that potential at AC Milan. Wasn't a guaranteed starter. Wasn't excelling as much. Needed that transfer to Newcastle to rejuvenate his career. Jacob Ramsey, injured already. Will he stamp his authority at the Newcastle midfield? I don't particularly think so. He screams to me like another Joe Willock. Aaron Ramsdale is a ridiculously stupid arrival. Like one of the most overrated keepers of all time, in my humble opinion, over the past several years. All he does is just save those picturesque shots, but in terms of like the easy saves, like he has no agility whatsoever. There's no reflexes whatsoever, and he's not even a starter so far. Aaron Ramsdale, so that's just a pointless arrival. But yeah, for Newcastle, Alexander Isak's departure kind of just exposes the tin pot mentality of the club. That's what happens when you fail to fulfill their promises. What else is there to say? Callum Wilson's departure also is not ideal. He would have been an excellent backup to have for Walter Manda instead of just persisting with overpaying for Visa. Sean Longstaff departing for Leeds is a minor blow, nothing really to write home about. Jamal Lewis has left on a free transfer, which is a major shame for people who raved about him during his spell at Norwich. But this is just, for a club who's been ridiculed during this transfer window, I have to give them a D. I'm sorry. Like, this window massively exposed Newcastle's lack of planning, lack of foresight, lack of everything, really.
Hey. So I've gone the opposite end of the spectrum on this one. I've given them a B plus. I think it was, yes, it's been an absolutely wild transfer window for Eddie Howe. But for me, I think they've actually come off pretty well. Yeah, they didn't manage to keep hold of Alexander Isak, finally letting him go to Liverpool. But in terms of that was the only real big loss from their starting 11. Yeah, the squad is weak, don't get me wrong. But they did manage to bring in some good players in Anthony Elanga, Nick Waltemade, as you say, and Johan Wissa. But for me, they managed to keep hold of their midfield trio in Joelinton, Bruno, and Tonali, who for me personally is just as important, if not more important, than Alexander Isak when it comes to Newcastle. You can sign another striker, but for me, those three in midfield they were able to keep hold of are probably one of the three best partnerships in the Premier League. They was able to also bring in good squad players in Jacob Ramsey and Malik Chow. I think if you look at it overall, I think Eddie Howe will be satisfied with the window. He would have obviously expected a lot more. For what you said about the planning, I don't think it actually came down to Newcastle planning. I think they had an idea going into the summer of who they wanted, but just no club wanted to really talk to them about the prices. Like, for example, every player they went for, it seemed like everyone just upped the price tag because obviously of the money that they've obviously got into the club now. So I think it's Eddie Howe had a very tough job this summer, but in terms of Newcastle fans, I think personally they'll be quite satisfied with what was done. Obviously, could have been a lot better. The squad does look a little weak for me going into Europe and Premier League fixtures on top of everything else, but I think it hasn't been as bad as other people make out. So a B plus for me. Jake?
I'm going to go slap bang in the middle. I'm going to be the fence sitter here. I'm going to
All
go.
right.
I'm going to go a C. In the grand scheme of things, on paper, I actually don't think it is a terrible window. I think Walter Marder is going to have a lot to prove. Got big shoes to fill. Is he going to be worth what they paid? I don't know, because I think they've signed him as very much a panic buy going into, the last couple hours of transfer deadline day and Isak going out the door, and they've kind of not scrambled to get him over the line, but I don't think he was very much in their plans. If you know, if you had the option to sign players that they could have signed, they were linked with Sesko quite heavily. He obviously opted for United. They were early in the window linked with Ekatike. We all know where he went. And then, I just think, I don't think Walter Mad will be a bad signing because, he's already started life off at Newcastle well, started with a goal. But I think he very much wasn't their main target. For the rest of them, for Alanga, I think it's a very good signing. Still young, only 23. Big price tag, similarly to Walter Mad, I think a little bit overpaid, but not as much. Visser, I think they've massively overpaid. 28-year-old, already injured, which isn't a good sign. Jacob Ramsey, again, I think they've slightly overpaid for him. Not a bad signing. Obviously, he's going to come with the English tax. With joining from another English club. Thiaw, I don't really know. There were a lot of fans on Twitter when I seen that signing get announced that were praising the fact that they managed to even get close to what they did for him because, he's just not really lived up to what he could be. And then, Ramsdale, just average keeper. I don't think he's any better than Pope, and I don't even think Pope's that good of a keeper. And to bring in what they did for Isak is a massive plus on top of, like you say, keeping what they did. But I still think, they've come into this window not really having a plan. I think their plan was mainly just keep Isak. Similarly to what kind of Palace did with Gueye, they didn't really plan for life without Gueye. They've just kind of planned to keep him for now. Which again I can't really knock because you don't want to sell your best players, but it's very naive thinking and naive planning from especially a club like Newcastle, who are meant to be, kind of more at the top of the pack now, not really at the top of it, but challenging for what is considered the best of the rest and even pushing top four. It's been a very naive window from them, and I can't go really any higher than a C.
Okay, so how the hell do we average this out then?
Right. You said
You
B
know what,
plus. Oracle said what, D?
D.
I said fuck it, C minus. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Like, it's just like this window just exposed like Newcastle's current state as a club. Like they act big, but they're not big. It's just tin pot, And look, Isak's departure will benefit their PSR scenario, but will they invest them signing so wisely? I don't know. So that's why. Look, I'll be generous. I'll go for a C minus as well, just to ease your pain, Jake.
I'm not a fucking Newcastle fan. Right, well, C minus, C, B plus, C plus. There
we go.
Yeah, there we go, lads.
The thing is with Newcastle that I found, though, is just looking at it from the outside in, I feel personally for Eddie Howe because although you guys say lack of planning, which I do understand where you're coming from, but obviously, like you say, they did try and sign Ekatike, they did try and sign Sesko. At least they were being proactive and trying to sign these players. Yeah, it didn't work out, unfortunately, and that was the be-all and end-all of the transfer window, but and Nick Waltemada, probably was a panic buy to allow Isak to go because if they don't bring in Waltemada, you guys never get Isak. Let's be honest. So it's if and buts whether or not it's going to work out. Sometimes panic buys can work out. It's not exactly a terrible panic buy. I've seen 10 times worse panic buys in the past. So signing someone for 69 million like a young Nick Waltemada, not exactly terrible. But obviously remains to be seen, like you guys say. So,
I think C plus is right. Yeah, I think C plus is fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. To be fair. Oh God, to be fair.
To be fair.
Repetition, ladies and gentlemen.
Completely. All right, and moving on, we have Nottingham Forest. Take us away, Jakey.
Yeah, a weird summer for Forest. And obviously, we've now seen going into the season, they have parted ways with Nuno Espirito Santo, which is such a weird series of events. I'll put it that way, because obviously we saw what happened last season with Marinakis coming onto the pitch, and it's kind of now spilled over into this season. Just again, a weird. I can't really comment on a lot of them. I think Amari Hutchinson could be a very good signing. You know, he's very young. He's got a bright future ahead of him. I don't think he was bad for a season in the Prem when he was with Ipswich. Dan and Doy, I can't really comment. A lot of money spent on both of them, coming from Bologna and Ipswich. Bakwa from Strasbourg could be good business. Again, it's a lot of money, 35 million for a club that... Did they have Europe this season? They do.
Yeah,
Don't
they
they?
took
They've got
they took Europa League off of Palace, didn't they?
that was it. Yes.
Yeah.
Carly Mwendo is a striker that comes with a lot of promise, and I think is a striker that they're going to need, because I don't know the situation with a 1 year. I know he's back from his injury, I think, but I don't know if he's going to be up to pace, if that injury is going to have affected him long term, because obviously it was quite a horrific injury. For those who don't know, he did slip into a coma after, I think it was a abdominal injury. I don't think they really divulged much information on that, but yeah, it's just been a weird one. Raiding Botafogo as well for 4 of them signings of Jesus, Cunha, Victor, and Cayabano. I think that's how you pronounce it. And
I'll
then
go with
on
it.
deadline day, a very good signing in Douglas Luiz. I think he'll prove to be very good, improving that midfield. And I was torn between 2 ratings, and I think I'm going to settle on a C plus. I think that's what I'm going to go with. Not a bad summer. Obviously, a lot of money out in terms of Danilo. Danilo going to Botafogo, I think, is a weird one because he's still quite young. Omar Bamadeli probably filling into the Strasbourg Chelsea money laundering situation, but I won't touch too much on that.
Probably.
And Alanga obviously to Newcastle for 50, 60 million. Good money to get for those players, and it's just again a weird summer of raiding Botafogo players, and a weird summer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna mirror a lot of what you've just said. I've gone with just a basic C. Obviously, we're recording this after the announcement of them letting go of Nuno and bringing in Big Ange. I mean, it's a very strange one at Nottingham Forest. I don't think they had a great window, to be honest. You obviously mentioned the players that have come in and gone out. They obviously didn't really lose anyone big. They was able to keep the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White and Chris Wood, which is obviously good for the club. But I don't know. I just don't see enough from Forest. And obviously with the managerial switch now, I think being a mistake, not in terms of obviously, because obviously Nuno had fallen out with the hierarchy at Forest. But are they now going to change the way they play? Is Big Ange going to implement his own style? Are Forest going to be able to get going? Judging by this weekend's performance, it's looking bleak. But it does remain to be seen. So I've just gone with a nice, safe C on this one. Miguel?
C minus for me, just due to the attacking talent that they signed. But like, with the Nuno departure, I'm not surprised. One of the big reports I've seen was the fact that he didn't want Omari Hutchinson originally. He wanted to bring Adama Traore from Fulham. So there was definitely some disharmony between Edu, Marinakis, and Santa. And
Yeah.
I think it just shows. Dan and Doy is an excellent signing. After a brilliant season with Bologna, he's going to be the real shining light, providing crosses for this Wood's big head. Scored a winner against AC Milan in the Coppa Italia to win Bologna their first ever trophy. Karim Wendo is a striker I was tipping for big things, and Forest signing him to be Chris Wood's understudy is exceptional business in my humble opinion. James McAtee, I don't really see him excelling that much. Just feels like a homegrown quota type of signing where he may get minutes but won't really do much. The Botafogo lads, the only one I would focus on is Igor Jesus, 24 years old. between him and Kalimundo, one of them will definitely overtake Chris Wood as the season pans out, because I don't really see Chris Wood excelling on the big Ange. He's not the type of centre forward that big Ange would like. Nicolo Savona, the right back, who can play also left back, seems about right. Forrest is his level. Andre Cambiaso was the far better fullback in the Juve, but Savona can do a solid job as his versatile option. Douglas Luiz, if he can regain that form that he had just before he left Villa, because even towards the end of his time at Villa, he was a bit sloppy in midfield. Like, Kamara outshone him massively, and he's been a major waste of resources at Juve. But if he can regain some of the earlier Villa form that he had, he can be an excellent loan signing. But yeah, a lot of these signings are tailor made for Ange, but I still worry whether they can implement the high line. Like, I'm sorry, Milinkovic and Murillo, Christ almighty. Two very unsuited centre backs for that high line, especially big brute centre back Milinkovic. For me, B minus.
I'll pose a question. Do you think some of the signings were made with sacking Nuno in mind?
Yes, 100%. I believe so. I'm not surprised. Like, Hutchinson and Doyle, they don't scream like players who would be wasted on Nuno's counter-attacking style. More so like free-flowing football of Big Ange. But also Sinchenko joined on loan, and he's still not playing Europa League football, which is hilarious to me. Yeah, in terms of like departures, I think Danilo. I think it's a case of him regaining some momentum that he had just before that horrific injury he suffered. Maybe that's why he was left for Botafogo. Roman Sosa left for Palmeiras. Daily left for Strasbourg on a permanent. Um, but in terms of like the signing, Shaky, I've said this so many times as well. They definitely had other managers in mind in terms of recruitment, not Nuno. Like, this is why I said Nuno's departure felt inevitable, and I'm not surprised it happened. I'm a little bit surprised why people are surprised. Like, with all the turmoil going on between him and Edu and Marinakis, and after losing to Graham Potter, of all people, like, of course he was going to get sacked. So yeah, I do think
I
that
think
these
more just the
tactics were made.
timing of it, though. I think the timing of it just more shocked anyone than
It's
anyone
just
else.
Marinakis. I'm interested to see, will Forest become the new Watford, where they're just gonna chop and change their managers? I think someone mentioned this before. Like, will they become the new Watford, where they're just gonna chop and change their managers, and then there's just gonna be resulting lack of stability in the club? We shall see.
We shall see indeed, but we'll move swiftly on from them. I think we average about a C for them if we take everything into consideration, don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll stick with a C for Nottingham Forest then. Moving on to Sunderland, the team that I think we're all very excited to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kick us off. I've gone with an A. I think in terms of championship teams coming up, I believe Sunderland's had the best window out of all of them. The biggest signing being a Premier League quality player and leader in Granit Xhaka for only 17 million. I think that's one of the best signings a championship club has made in recent years, personally. And they also picked up a player I very much highly rate in Simon Adingra for only 20 million. There's something about Adingra, I don't know what it is, but he's just a very exciting winger for me. I think he should have got a lot more chances than he did at Brighton. And I'm actually very excited to see what he's going to do at Sunderland. Just looking at what he's done already this season, he does look a very exciting prospect. And they also managed to get a few more names in, to name a few: Enzo Lafi, Mandava, Habib Diarra, Brian Brobby, and Mark Gay, or Guia, however you pronounce his name.
He's gone back
Um,
to Chelsea.
He's gone back to Chelsea though.
He's
Yeah.
gone back to Chelsea now. Yeah, of course he has.
Terminated his loan, which makes zero fucking sense in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
He even
right.
scored in the Carabao Cup against Huddersfield.
Yeah. Just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, it's been fantastic business from Sunderland, and for me personally, they've made the correct steps in order to have the best chance to survive in a highly contested Premier League this season. They're my personal tip to stay up this season, and I'll tell you why soon. Who I tip to go down in their place. But yeah, if all goes well, thanks to Granit Xhaka's leadership and their home form, I do indeed see them staying in the Premier League. So an A for me. Well done, Sunderland.
done.
Jakey, you can take us up next.
Yeah, I think I've been a bit more generous. I've got an A+, and the only A+ I've given out all in the last two episodes. Well, both episodes, sorry. I think for a newly promoted team to come up and spend what they have, and I don't really think they've overspent on anyone. Maybe Talby, bit of an unknown, coming for 20 million, but again, it's kind of what you have to do if you want to prize young players away from clubs, with them being only 20, and I imagine very highly thought of at Club Bruges. But again, like you said, a Dingra, very, very good player, and a player I think will kick on for Sunderland. And we're already starting to see these signings do well for Sunderland. Granit Xhaka looking very good in midfield. Obviously the players that they've kept hold of as well, looking very, very good. And yeah, they've signed what they needed to, and they've signed well. You know, you look at the likes of Mukiele coming in, Bertrand Traore coming in for a very cheap fee, Gertrude on loan, Masuaka on a free, Reinildo on a free. Both players are going to come in with now Champions League experience, with like Besiktas and Atletico Madrid being kind of regulars in the Champions League over the last few years. Yeah, I think it's been a very, very good window, and they've not really lost. If you look at the players that have gone out, Joe Bellingham, they were always going to lose. I don't think any Sunderland fan was coming into this season expecting them to still have Bellingham in their team. Tom Watson.
Brother.
Did I say Jude?
No, I said he's just following his brother.
I thought you said wrong, brother. My bad.
No.
Tom Watson, obviously a young player that left for Brighton. I think that was agreed upon last season. So, you know, that the parting gift that he gave them of getting them promoted. Pierre Aqua, I can't really comment on. He's young. He's gone for an okay fee, and Triantis has gone to America. Again, a young Greek midfielder, can't really comment on. So the team that came up, they've only really lost two players, and one of them was agreed upon last season. So the core of that team is still there. They've still got the likes of Patterson in goal. They've still got the likes of the defender who I can't name. I don't know why I can't name him.
Ballard.
Which one, sorry?
Ballard.
Ballard, that's it. Thank you.
Ballard, yeah, that was it.
A very good defender for them, and being able to hold on to these players is good. I can only see as a plus. So yeah, I think it's an A+ for me, and it's the only one I'm going to give out.
Okay, I think I agree with everything you've said except one thing, and that's Arthur Masuaku. He is shite.
I mean,
he used to play for West Ham. He was shite.
I don't think he's going to be their. I don't think he's going to be their starter for one. They've obviously got Reinildo, and they'll have.
Yeah.
If I remember right, was he the right back? He might be the right back I'm thinking
Hume.
of. Yeah.
If Mukiele and Hume are right back in, Hume's been starting as well for them.
Which is surprising. I thought Mukiele would come in.
Yeah.
But no, I think so. Like, I don't think Masuaki was going to start, but he does come with a bit of experience. He's 31. I don't know if he was a dead set starter for Besiktas, but it's still experience that the younger players are going to need.
I just have bad feelings with that guy, but
he's a dodgy fucking guy.
He's that guy. But
right,
we'll move on, Mikhail.
A+ because it is an A+. I'm sorry, lads. This is an A+. Like, what else is there to say? They invested exactly in the amount of money, the players, the positions. Like, where do I start? Gertrude on loan, like, that's unbelievable. Like, many Liverpool fans, myself included, wanted him in the past, Gertrude, even before he signed for Leipzig. Like, that's unbelievable business. Like, losing Marguerite, okay, so what's going to happen now? Oh, Brian Brobby on a permanent, who's still 23. What? Like, Talbi, an exciting Moroccan winger. That's the one player I'm really excited for down the line. Granit Xhaka, Xhaka, that's the signing that makes people take Sunderland seriously. That's unbelievable leadership to have. His passing range is superb as well. We've already seen that when he assisted for Wilson Isidore's winner against Brentford. And even Ronaldo has been the real surprise for me. The Mozambique international. He's been excellent for them. Even after some mediocre seasons for Atletico Madrid, he's been solid. And now I know this is a little conspiracy theory. I know a lot of people have raised the point about AFCON being a huge issue for Sunderland. However, I truly believe that Sunderland are preparing themselves by integrating likes of Chris Rigg and Dan Neil into the midfield area alongside Granit Xhaka, someone experienced, and guide them to survive at that period without the African players. Habib Diarra, huge superstar in the making. Their most exciting and expensive arrival. Enzo Lefebvre on a permanent, brilliant. A player who I made a Insta post about. That was my first ever Insta post I ever made when he was excelling at Stade Rennais. So it's nice to see him in the Premier League. But yeah, Mukiele as well, and he's not even a starter. Hume's still the starter. And then Robin Roof's the keeper, who might be one of the bargains of the season, in my humble opinion. The Dutch keeper, who had zero expectations, has already kept 2 clean sheets and looks very comfortable in nets. So for me, Sunderland are getting an A+ window, and they're definitely gonna survive. Probably 13th to 11th place. That's my prediction.
I think they are the team that a lot of people predict to break the mold of you come up, you go straight back down.
It certainly does look that way.
To be fair, Leeds have been solid defensively, but they just can't score. That's the only reason why I don't think they'll stay up. But Sunderland, the balance is brilliant, and I truly believe that with AFCON coming up, the younger players who excelled in the Championship will get more of a chance in the Premier League. That's why I don't think Sunderland are concerned with AFCON that much. As much as people love to raise that point, they're not daft over there in Sunderland. They know what they're doing, and I think that will result in comfortable survival.
Certainly does look that way. So I think we can all agree it's probably an average of an A+ there for Sunderland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic window from Sunderland. All right, moving on. We have got Spurs. Mikhail, I'll let you away.
Listen, this is a new era for Spurs, and now we need to do a podcast about Spurs in general, because I truly believe with Daniel Levy's departure and with how much he's left Spurs in a brilliant position, it could challenge in the next 5 years. I'm not even exaggerating. Xavi Simons to Tottenham, actual Xavi Simons. Did anyone expect this? This fella has been pampered for superstardom. He was in PSG's academies, Barcelona academies, excelling for PSV Eindhoven and Leipzig. Most people touted him for Chelsea or Bayern Munich. Spurs. I can't believe it. It's still mind-boggling to me. That fella's going to be the real gem of that team. Kudus, of course, nicking him from another London club.
Judas! Sorry.
It's alright, lads. It's alright. It happens.
Just a tickly cough. Tickly cough.
Yeah, tickly cough.
But Kudus, we haven't seen him score so far, but he's looked electric for Spurs, and I think Spurs is his level. I think that's the ideal level for the lad. And they also signed 2 promising young centre backs in Luka Vuskovic and Kota Takai, both who will be the prospects down the line. And look at the loan signings. João Paulinho, how on earth did Bayern Munich not utilize João Paulinho properly? Talk about a club that had that awful window. Paulinho is everything that Spurs needed in midfield. Steal, bite, crunchy tackles. even decent passing ability. Like, he's gonna be the real gem of that team, the experienced leader of that midfield. Next to the likes of Bentaker, of course, Pape Sarr, Begval. Like, Begval and Sarr maintain possession whilst having the anchor of Paulinho. Jesus. And then, of course, Randall Colomwani. Like, actual Randall Colomwani, who was excelling for Juve on loan. Like, Juve fans are still seething over the fact that he's not returned to Juve on a permanent deal. For Tottenham to nick him, like, that's unbelievable business. As for departures, Human-Son departed the club, or LAFC, but to be honest, I think it was the right time for him to leave. And also, Ryan Gill's gone to Girona permanent. Like, that's also one of the worst signings we've seen in recent history. Like, that swap deal of Ryan Gill and Eric Lamela really didn't benefit either team. I guess Sevilla won another Europa League, but look at the state of them at the moment. But yeah, this is an A window for me. Brilliant window.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo the same sentiment. I think it's a B plus. I think the only issue I think that can be said, and I know Vicario is a very, very good keeper. To be fair, I can't even remember the point I was going to make. Never mind.
Important then.
Okay, I don't think it was that important. Yeah, ignore that. The signings of Xavi Simons, unbelievable. Less than what he's probably worth as well. Like unbelievable business, like you say, a player that has been touted for just for success in
Yeah.
from a very young age. You know, making players look silly when he was in Barca's youth academy, then going to PSG. Not really kicking on at PSG. I think it might have been a bit too early for that move. But then going to the likes of Leipzig and PSV and just tearing up the league. I think it's a very, very, very good business. Kudos, as Phil said, Judas. But again, I think it's a good signing. I can't fault it. A player that, while yes, I think is very selfish, at times I wouldn't have minded Liverpool going for. And yeah, the signings of Danzo on a permanent, Tell on a permanent, two very good signings. I think they'll kick on well. And yeah, Paulinho on loan, I think is crazy considering everything that went on for him to go to Bayern, and they've never really utilised him, which I think is quite weird. And yeah, just I think a B plus for me.
Okay, so now it comes down to me.
Don't sound too happy.
So, as a West Ham fan, it does pain me to give the Spuds such a high rating, but I do feel like after this summer window, it is justified, unfortunately. I'm going to take my West Ham cap off. I'm giving them an A. They've made some fantastic signings, with the standout one being Xavi Simons that Jake and Mikel have already spoke about, which does show Spurs' intent heading into this season. Obviously, bringing in Judas from us for 55 million and João Paulinho from Bayern, which I also think could be very good signings for them. I believe at West Ham, Kudus was very lazy, but it turns out he just wasn't happy and wanted to leave. So see you later, Chief. Good luck at the Spuds. When it comes to their outgoings, wasn't anything crazy either, with the biggest one being their club captain, Heung-min Son, finally saying goodbye to Spurs and heading to end his career in America. I do believe with the right management, Spurs could end up having a very good season. But what could really top last season, winning a European trophy finally and joining the elite club of London teams with a European trophy in this day and age? So remains to be seen if they could top that. But yeah, for me, looking at everything, I have to just give them an A. Just take it, Spurs, and move on, mate.
Don't sound too happy
Listen,
there, Phil.
can I compound your misery with West Ham, by the way? Can I start off with West Ham? Just to compound your misery. By the way, I think this averages to an A. Can we agree with that?
Yeah.
It is an A. Yeah.
So,
All right. Well,
Philris,
yeah.
I'll take over. I'll
right.
start with West Ham United.
Go for it, lad.
Whoa. Okay. Like just signings, right? And not the club in general. That's gonna be hard. Where do I start? Well, first of all, the free transfers of Kyle Walker-Peters and Wilson, pretty solid. I mean, Wilson should be a backup for a younger striker, not a geriatric orc like Phil Crook, who got bullied by Dan Ballard. But Wilson will be fine. I like Cam Wilson. El Hadji Diouf, Malik Diouf, by the way, and not to confuse ourselves with El Hadji Diouf of Liverpool, who pretty much spelled the end of their earliest time at Liverpool. The wing back has been excellent, to be fair. Excellent business. One of the best crossers I've seen in a long time, to be honest, from that left flank. Definitely be a fan favourite in Fantasy League. Todibo signed on a permanent. Maybe he was slightly overhyped, to be honest. Like, the fact he was linked with Bayern and Manchester United in particular for the longest of times, and now he's on a permanent deal with West Ham, kind of shows that something went wrong there. Matthias Fernandes, solid little player, solid midfielder. I don't think he's worth the money that he was invested. 44 million euros. It's not ideal. Mats Hermansen looks like Massimo Taibi so far. Very error prone, which is surprising considering he excelled in a very dodgy Leicester team. But like in terms of departures, Kudus rightfully left for Spurs, with actual ambition. Nave Aguerd departed after refusing to play against Forest. Edson Alvarez leaving for Fenerbahce is a huge shock to the system. Kind of shows how underwhelming he was for West Ham. Emerson for 700k. Vladimir Sufel for nothing. Wes Fotheringham for nothing. Proper legend of the club. Hero. Danny Ings leaving for Sheffield United. Again, it's iconic, really. But yeah, honestly, this is just a C- window. This would have been a D, but Diouf, Wilson, and Peters keep it in the C column for me.
Yeah.
Jake?
Kind of similar thinking. I've gone probably a bit harsher. I've gone with a D. It's not really been a. It's not really not been a transfer window to write home about, and I know through speaking to Phil in the lead up, during the transfer window, it has not been a good one. A club that's that's had a very strict sell to buy model, and has not really had the players to sell to be able to buy. Owners not really willing to pump money in, which just kind of begs the question: why own a club if you're not willing to spend? But the signings they have made, Matthias Fernandes, I can't really comment on. I didn't really see much of him for Southampton the year he was in the Prem. Hasn't looked like an awful player so far. I've seen a few highlights, and I don't know if Phil can back me up here, but he's not been too bad.
All right, I suppose.
Todibo signing on a permanent after last season. Again, not really kind of kicked on the way I think many fans would have wanted him to. West Ham have looked very shaky at the back. Malik Diaw, I think, is going to be a fantastic signing. I think he is probably has one of the best deliveries of a ball I've seen coming into the Prem. It's looked very good. That the assist he got, I think it was Wilson's goal, that ball was absurd.
Phenomenal.
Say again?
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention Magassa from Monaco will add more steel to the midfield, but you need more elegance over there. But Magassa's all right.
And then again, if you look at the departures, Kudu's obviously leaving for a permanent. Aguerd, I think that's how you pronounce it. Aguerd, 20 million. I don't think that's too bad. Edson Alvarez leaving on loan. I think it's a bit of a weird one. He didn't really kick on I think he was too slow for the Prem. He did look exposed quite a lot, and then losing Kufal, Ings, Cresswell, Zuma, and Fotheringham on frees opens up a bit of the wage budget. And players that were very much coming to the twilight period of the career. Again, just a very disappointing window, and I can guarantee the West Ham fan in this call is going to let his feelings known, and I'm going to let him take it away. I'm going with the D.
The stage is yours.
All right, so we move on to, as they say, my team. And as a Hammer, I have to say I am not very impressed whatsoever with our summer. But knowing our useless fucking owner, I am not surprised in the slightest. Yes, we did manage to keep hold of Jared Bowen and Paqueta. For how long remains to be seen. Personally, I feel for Jared Bowen, could be playing a lot higher, probably should. I mean, has he got some agreement with Danny Dyer that he isn't going to leave West Ham? I fucking hope so, but remains to be seen. And Paqueta apparently has come out and said this will be his last season at West Ham already, 4 games in. Fuck knows what's going on there either. Just not a clue, honestly, none. When it comes to our transfer window as a whole, yes, we did bring in Mateus Fernandez. He's an unknown quality, spent way too much on him. For me, panic buy. Sungutu Magasa, highly rated apparently for 17 million. Is he the man? Fuck knows, probably not. If you can somehow get James Ward-Prowse out of that midfield, I'm all for it, the lazy prick. Diouf, for me, though, I will say, is the standout signing for me. Looks a very, very good player. Was a very unknown quantity for me personally. Didn't know much about him when we signed him. But what I've seen so far, I do like. He brings a lot of pace and stamina up and down that flank. And as the boys said, can deliver across. Does look strong as well. So, yeah, that is a plus for me. But at the start of the season, when I was looking at everything and I saw that the business we were conducting and what our owner came out and said, like Jake said, you have to sell to buy. We've got fuck all to sell now. You're just not going to do anything for me. I did say that I would tell you guys about the team I think that will replace Sunderland being relegated. That for me is West Ham United. For me, we need a complete rehaul. As a football fan, I don't want to see us fucking relegated in the slightest, but I don't see a world where that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have enough consistency, just like a team, just like Man United. We just seem to 1 week perform, 1 week the next. Graham Potter looks clueless. When things are going wrong, we absolutely collapse. So yeah, for me, if I'm giving it a rating, it's a D minus. Could have been an E. Could have been a fucking F for fucking shit. So
Phil, just a
I
small
like,
question.
yeah.
How long will Graham Potter last?
For me personally, he's got about a month. If things
Because
don't pick up,
I really don't see him lasting. Like, this should be the end of this
no.
Graham Potter club. Like, he made me hate the XG, metric during his spell at Brighton, even though he was just drawing games. So I'm semi glad for the footballing world that he's been exposed a bit after his disastrous spell at Chelsea and West Ham. Like, XG is all nice and well, but you actually need to put the ball into the back of the net. So I'm semi glad that he's getting a bit exposed. I do feel a bit sorry for West Ham fans, but sometimes maybe a relegation will benefit West Ham in the future.
I
Just
mean,
get the
we've done it twice before, and it's worked out before. I mean,
true,
the
true.
last time we did it within 3 seasons, we were European champions, so quite possibly. But for me,
Yeah,
if I was the owner right now, one, I wouldn't be a useless prick, and two, I would literally, with Nuno now on the market, I would go out, let go of Potter, and go and get someone like Nuno. A lot of West Ham fans are talking about Jose Mourinho as the answer. Do me a fucking break, honestly. He is
do
not.
you think that there's some legitimacy to the Mourinho links, especially after his
He's a
statements?
he's a good manager, but when you look at a club like West Ham United, we don't have the funds to
And
suit
Mourinho is
Jose
notorious
Mourinho.
for what, like, he's notorious for wanting to be the checkbook manager. So I don't understand it either. Like, because
No,
a lot of
none.
fans were alluding this interview they had that, I don't want to go to a club in Europe, so I'm just waiting for a Premier League team. Like, why are West Ham the favourites? I just don't understand it.
No, I don't either. And me personally, I want to touch on something as well that a lot of people have brought up to me in the past about year and a half now is, was we wrong to get rid of Moyes? Personally, I was on the time for Moyes to leave train, and I still believe that. I think that even if David Moyes was at West Ham, we'd still be in this situation. We have an owner that is just so goddamn selfish that doesn't want to invest in the club. We had two owners when they first took over, David Gold and John Sullivan. Gold was the man who didn't give a shit. John Sullivan was the man who loved West Ham United. He unfortunately passed away, which then left all the decisions to David Gold. And the guy just doesn't give a shit. And when you've got an owner that doesn't care, you're just set up for just disarray in all aspects. So
I touch on the David Moyes thing. I'll give my expert opinion as the Don Oracle that I am, the self-proclaimed. Personally, for me, I do believe it was time for him to go. However, you did not replace him with Julian Lopetegui. First of all, a man who was a failure at the Wolves at West Ham. Like Wolves scored only 33 goals in 38 games during his tenure. Like you don't replace Moyes with that. And then you're going for a hipster in Graham Potter. Like, it's not so much whether Moyes was, rightfully given the boot out the door. It's just his replacements have been diabolical.
all the
Amorim,
decisions, all the decisions
and
at the
Amorim
club
has
since.
succeeded as well at West Ham. I don't know. Hard to tell, especially with how stubborn he is.
Not a chance. But anyway, we're gonna leave it there. Jakey, can you work out the average of that?
What was it? 3Ds, I'm pretty sure. Or was
I
it
mean, I would.
Do you know what? Just for
I'd settle with an F.
game, just go for a D minus. That's gonna be ideal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Well,
All
ladies
right.
and gentlemen,
Take a break.
Wolverhampton Wanderers last. Now, Jakey, you've been fairly silent recently. I'm gonna let you go first.
Yeah, bit of a weird one for Wolves. I don't think they've signed necessarily awfully. I think some of again, there are a lot of signings that I can't really comment on, as I've not really seen much of. Jorgen Strand Larsen, I think, weirdly came in quite early into the window and then was already looking to be leaving Wolves to go to Newcastle. They've managed to keep hold of their new signing, which again, fucking weird phrase to say.
It was odd.
Yeah. But again, I think that the benefit of their window probably looks at the outs. 22 million for Fabio Silva, 36 million for Ryan Nuri, 74 million for Matheus Cunha. Good deals. Good deals, and I can't fault them for it. Players that, Ryan Nuri is a very good player, and I'll always. I was one of the people who wanted him at Liverpool. Matheus Cunha, I think they've pulled United's pants down, and Fabio Silva couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. Yeah, it's just very good money in compared to money gone out. However, I think if they're wanting to kind of cement themselves back where they were, they needed to spend more. So for that, I can't really give them higher than a C.
Okay then.
There's a lot of players that I don't really know. I can't really comment on. I think Fer Lopez for Celta Vigo isn't a bad acquisition, but a lot of them I can't really talk about. I just don't know enough about them.
I'll touch on some of those signings actually, as I know several of them. John Arias, tricky winger, won't add much in product, but will add more skill. He'll definitely excite the Wolves faithful. Ladislav Krejci, highly rated in Czech Republic, had an awful spell at Girona, has now joined Wolves, and he already started midfield because he has a tendency of leaving the centre back spot and pushing to midfield. And so I think they're just trying to make him as this like hybrid player, midfielder slash defender. But I don't like for the loan fee of what 22.5 million. Weird. But yeah, in terms of Wolves, and like they signed David Moore, Wolf, and Juana. I don't know how you pronounce his name. One of the most difficult names I've seen in a while. Yeah, fairly average window. Just because it's sell to buy basically, and weren't Wolves supposed to be the team to break that top six mold? Like, it feels very stagnant. Like, I'm looking at departures like Gonzalo Guedes, who they wasted ridiculous money on, 4 million euros. Like, it's just an indictment of the failures that Wolves have had in previous windows. Fabio Silva to Dublin, like that's still one of the most baffling deals I've seen in a very long time. Just because he was known to be one of Rangers' worst ever strikers in their history. Like their fans detest him with a burning passion. And I can't blame them. And Nelson Semedo on a free to Fenerbahce, Sarabia to Al Arabi, Qatar, that could be a bit of a loss. He adds some magic to the attack. Um, yeah, this is just a D window for me for Wolves. Additions were made, but will they stay up? I mean, they're leaking in a ridiculous amount of goals at the moment. I don't think they will.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It's a D for me as well. It's a terrible time to be a team beginning with W right now in the Premier League. They ended up losing their two biggest players in Matthias Cunha and Ryan Nori, and not really brought in anything outstanding to replace them with. Like Jakey, I don't really know too much about many of their signings. The biggest one being Fer Lopez from Celta for 21 million. But it's just a very underwhelming window for me when I looked at everything from Wolves. I think they're going to be down there again, unfortunately. I think I still don't see them getting relegated for some reason. They just seem to always find a way. I don't see them being relegated, but still definitely not enough from me. So I've gone with a D.
I will
Uh,
say with Wolves, they are becoming slowly what Sunderland were during the 2010s, where it's just like they sack a manager, they find some momentum, they spend some money, then they have a poor start, sack the manager, hire a new one. I think that's what's going to happen with Vitor Pereira. He's going to get sacked. Some new manager will come in. Maybe we'll regain some momentum. I mean, like, let me know, guys, in the comment section. How good will Arcadore be from Genk? Meant to be Strand Larsen's replacement, but he's joined while Strand Larsen is still at the club. So it'll be interesting to see how many goals the Nigerian international will score. But yeah, as for Wolves, tricky situation they're in. But yeah, overall, this averages a D minus for
D
us.
minus it
Yeah,
is.
this is pretty much it. Any comments, lads?
no, I think it's been
Uh,
a very weird window.
yeah, it has
Good
been.
window,
It's
wasn't it?
a very expensive one. A lot of money spent. Um, I do want to say thank you to everyone who has made it to the end of this video. We do apologize, it's been a long one, but obviously there was a lot to unpack with a lot of the clubs in the lower half of the alphabet in the Premier League. We had a lot to say on them. If you watched the first part, this has obviously been a lot longer, which we do apologize for. But I want to say thank you to Jakey and Mikkel for joining the podcast again.
Pleasure, boys.
And we will see you
Love
guys
football.
next week.
In a bit, guys.
Cheers, guys.